Our movie opens with a quote from Robert Browning's Paracelsus. "I give the fight up, let there be an end. A privacy, an obscure nook for me. I want to be forgotten, even by God." And this sets the tone for the very thought-provoking journey through a world that's both futuristic and disturbingly plausible. And in this world, privacy is a commodity that few can afford, and the rapidly advancing technology has resulted in every person having an augmented reality ocular device that records their every move and thought. And our protagonist here is Sal, a law enforcement officer, and one day, while on duty, he notices something very peculiar. And this peculiar thing that he noticed was a woman whose thoughts that he couldn't really see and whose memories that eluded him almost completely. And even though he felt very uneasy about this woman, he just tries to ignore it and he just goes back to HQ. And back at headquarters, we see how Sal operates. We see a man approaching him, asking him about his lost son, and Sal sees the son's memories and tells the man that your son is not lost, he actually self-deleted by jumping off a roof. And the father is obviously devastated by this, and this scene is a poignant reminder of the power of technology and its impact on our lives. And next we see a woman who accuses her maid of stealing a bracelet, and Sal steps forth to solve this case, and he tells the woman that the maid didn't really take the bracelet. And when his friends ask him why he lied, which he did, he tells them that the maid actually took the bracelet to pay for her rent. And this is another example of the ethical dilemma faced by law enforcement officers in a world where privacy is non-existent, and everyone's actions are recorded and kept somewhere in a storage. And later we see Sal dealing with another case, where a man shot an unarmed man, and his lawyer tried to convince Sal that the man shot the innocent civilian under the assumption that he was carrying a weapon. But we later find out that the shooter was drunk and he shot a black guy because he was drunk and he was a bit racist. And here it becomes apparent that Sal and the other authorities can invade someone's memories and observe crimes through the eyes of the suspects and the victims. And after dealing with the drunk that just randomly shot some guy, Sal gets assigned to another case. And on this case, Sal notices something very unusual. He observed that the victim had seen his own murder before it happened, and the officers could identify the culprit by accessing the victim's memories. And this was a very odd thing for Sal. And Sal and his colleague Charlie just keep staring at the crime scene and they try to piece together what happened. And from everything they had so far, they discover that the murderer can actually alter the victim's memories. And this is a very scary thought because they've never quite met someone like that before. And Charlie tells Sal that there's another murder that happened the same way as this one. And as they were discussing this case, Sal remembers that woman that he saw once and couldn't really read anything off her. And he starts to think that maybe she had something to do with this. And then he decides to check things out by going to the ether. And the ether is a database that stores people's memories. And later that night, Sal replays the memories of him passing by the mysterious woman while he was making love to his girlfriend. But his girlfriend didn't really appreciate the fact that he was thinking about another woman while he was doing her, so she leaves him right on the spot. And later we see the detectives, along with an IT expert, Lester, begin to investigate this murder case. They discover that the victim meets with a mysterious guest before he dies. But unfortunately, they cannot find any memories of the meeting, which hinders their investigation. And Sal starts to feel very frustrated and helpless by this because he really wants to solve this case. And after further investigation, they realize that all the victims hire someone to manipulate or delete their memories that they either find incriminating or embarrassing. And Sal asks Charlie to send him the footage of the mysterious woman, but they find out that both their copies are deleted from the ether, making it impossible to identify this woman. And as they discuss this mystery woman, Sal realizes that she makes herself completely anonymous by erasing memories of her face not only from the police officers, but also from anyone who sees her in the streets.
Wait, hold on. Did you subscribe to our channel? Come on guys, you're here, you're watching the video. Help us out by hitting the subscribe button, as it really helps out me and my team to make more videos for you guys. And now, let's get back to the recap.
And after a long day of work, Sal listens to a recording of his son, and he calls his ex-wife Kristen, and he reminds her about their son's birthday. And Kristen, who's remarried, tells Sal to stop remembering their son because he's passed away. And Sal gets very upset and emotional by this, and he just hangs up the phone. And sometime later, just a few minutes after the initial murder, tragedy strikes again, and this time, taking the lives of two young girls who'd fallen prey to the same sinister plot. And Sal is quick to respond, examining the recordings of both victims to see if there are any clues that could lead them to the killer. And he speaks with the first respondent, asking if they saw anyone else in the vicinity at the time of the murders. But the policeman on the scene confirms that the only other person present was the maid, who called the police after hearing gunshots and discovering the very gruesome scene. And Sal continues his investigation, and he uncovers evidence of a fourth person, lurking in the shadows, and he talks to the policeman further, and the unthinkable happens, and the officer is fatally shot. And the killer, a mysterious woman, flees the scene with Sal in pursuit. And in a critical moment, Sal's vision becomes distorted and he's struck by an oncoming train. And as the detectives work to piece together what happened, they soon discover that the culprit had a disturbing habit of erasing her victims' memories. And it turns out that she frequently becomes intimate with those she hired to work for, and she erases their memories to help her cover her tracks. And Sal and the other detectives are determined to catch this mastermind, and they realize that she has the ability to implant false memories into their minds, causing them to experience things that never actually happened. And this leads Sal to being hit by the train, which never really happened. She just altered his memories. And as they ponder about how to best catch her, they come up with a very daring plan. Sal offers himself as bait, and he goes undercover to try to lure her out. And the plan involves creating a phony record of a wealthy stockbroker who hires a prostitute and then wants his memory erased to keep things a secret from his girlfriend. And after reaching out to several other fixers, they finally make contact with Anon, the person who reached out to Sal. And the two set up a meeting spot, and she invites Sal back to his apartment for the memory erasure process. And Lester monitors Anon's actions from another room while Sal explains what he wants to have erased from his memories. And Anon assures Sal that she won't be seeing anything that he doesn't want her to see, and she asks him to show her the specific memories that he wants gone. And with ease, Anon specifically deletes the memories and fills the gap in the timeline, leaving Sal deeply impressed by her skills. And Sal, the detective, confronts Anon about her mysterious ways of erasing herself from her client's memories. And Anon, the memory erasure specialist, reveals that she doesn't want to exist even as someone else, which is why she doesn't use aliases or share personal information. She takes the money and disappears, and despite Sal's attempts to chase after her, he doesn't really find anything. And the following day, the team is introduced to two new members, Cyrus, a tech specialist, and Detective Dyer, who received special recommendations from the commissioner. And Cyrus hacks into Anon's visions, allowing the team to track her location in real time while she's active in the ether. And during the tracking, Anon is observed deleting memories of Jasper Nix, a memory laundering art dealer doing business with Max Niller, and she replaces it with Max appearing to have discovered the painting on his own. And after a day of tracking, the team loses the connection without discovering her location. And Cyrus informs Sal and Charlie that Nix was found dead, killed by the same person who used the methods of Anon. And the bureau commissioner, Yusuf, believes that the murders were well deserved, and he isn't concerned about them because these people were criminals, basically. And Sal, however, disagrees, and the team is instructed to prioritize catching Anon as she jeopardizes the integrity of the justice system. And Charlie suggests that Sal goes undercover again to gather more information, and this time as a man who bought drugs from a dealer, and Sal meets with Anon in his apartment. And she deletes all the unwanted memories and she replaces them with what Sal wanted. And Anon starts to question Sal's addiction to drug, because she hasn't really seen a lot in his memories, and she wonders if he's using this as an excuse to see her again. And after she did her job, Anon begins to open up to the detective, and she tells him why she actually chose to remain anonymous and how she manages to escape the system that claims to protect people. And their conversation obviously leads to the bedroom, and they have a very passionate encounter. However, after their encounter, Anon discovers Sal's true identity, and she immediately leaves the house. And the team now faces the challenge of catching Anon before she continues to manipulate the justice system, but Sal is left with a newfound sense of empathy towards the memory erasure specialist. And Sal is still determined to catch Anon, the hacker who's been manipulating his memories and wreaking havoc on his life. And he follows her to an abandoned warehouse, but he arrives there and he finds Lester dead, apparently murdered by Anon. Sal is horrified by this, but he knows that he has to stay focused if he wants to catch the enemy. And shortly after, Sal receives a call from Anon, warning him not to look for her. But Sal is not one to back down from a challenge, and he calls for backup, and he decides to head home to reflect on what just happened. And when he arrives there, he receives a message from Anon saying that she's seeking revenge. And Sal knows that he's in for a very long and difficult fight with somebody that can alter his memories, that can give him false memories, delete his memories, basically do anything. And he also senses that something doesn't add up, because Anon was very intimate with him, and he thought that he saw into her soul, but now all these phone calls just seem a little odd. And Anon begins haunting Sal. She torments him with his worst memories. She replays the traumatic events of his past, such as being beaten up and chased by a dog, and even the memories of his son's tragic death. And Sal's son died after being hit by a car while chasing a balloon, a memory that still haunts him to this day. And she starts to play on that memory, and this starts to drive him a little crazy. And Anon's next move is even more sinister, as she deletes all the memories related to Sal's family, leaving him with nothing but a void where his son should have been. And Sal starts to panic, and he calls his ex-wife Kristen, and he begs her to send him memories of their son. But Anon has erased those memories from Kristen's mind too, leaving Sal completely alone with his grief. And as the situation worsens, Sal begins experiencing vivid hallucinations. He sees a raging fire, and he pulls out his gun and starts shooting everywhere to shoot at the flames. And fortunately, nobody's hurt, but Anon continues to torment him with these illusions. And then things get from bad to worse, as Anon alters his visions and makes it appear as if there are no cars on the road. And suddenly, because he was driving, several cars appear and Sal crashes against them. And Detective Fuchs arrives with the news that Sal has shot one of his neighbors and that there's a warrant out for his arrest. And Sal insists that he's been set up by the hackers who manipulate their wordings, but his explanation is dismissed and he's suspended from the mission. And now, Sal's life is in shambles, and he knows he can't trust anyone. And he escapes from the apartment where he was being watched, determined to catch Anon and clear his name. And he goes to her apartment, where she reveals that someone is killing her client, trying to frame her. And she proves her innocence by showing Sal her memory of the last time Lester was killed. And the next day, Anon makes a daring attempt to meet the detective, determined to get to the bottom of everything. And she manages to distract the officers guarding his apartment, allowing her to slip past them undetected. But little does she know that danger lurks around in every corner. As she was making her way to his apartment, Anon realizes that she's being followed, and she suddenly hears a gunshot, and she rushes to Sal's apartment to investigate. And there, she finds the real killer, who's none other than Cyrus, the new IT specialist on the team who'd been infatuated with her for years. And Sal quickly realizes that Cyrus is watching their every move in real time, and he takes matters into his own hands. And with a quick and deadly shot to the stomach, he incapacitates Cyrus, and he tries to save Anon. But Cyrus is not dead yet, and he attempts to escape with Anon by dragging her with him. And Sal runs after them, and after a very tense standoff, he finally shoots Cyrus dead. And despite the shocking events that just transpired, Anon remains remarkably composed, and she walks away as if nothing happened, leaving Sal to deal with the aftermath of the deadly confrontation. And at the police station, the commissioner reveals that he never actually recommended Cyrus for anything. They find out that that memory is actually an implanted false memory that Cyrus himself fabricated. And in the end, Sal recovers his memories and seeks out Anon for one final meeting, and she reveals to him her secret. She hides her life within the records of other people, breaking it up into tiny fractions of seconds. And when asked why she does this, she simply replies that she has nothing to hide. She merely wants to keep her life private. And as the movie comes to a close, viewers are left to ponder the complex nature of identity and privacy in a world where nothing is truly hidden. And that is how our movie ends. Remember to leave a comment, please like my video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on my next recap. I love you all, bye.